Grace's heart was full of joy. Michael had just asked her to marry him during a beautiful evening at the hotel. The room was bright, filled with soft music and smiling faces. Grace felt like she was dreaming as Michael held out the ring and asked the question she had always hoped for. With tears in her eyes, she said yes. After the happy moment, Grace and Michael spent time with their friends and family who had come to celebrate. The cheers, laughter, and congratulations made the night unforgettable. The hotel's grand ballroom felt like a place where dreams began. The next morning, Grace's phone started ringing nonstop. Her mother was the first to call, her voice full of excitement and pride. "My daughter is going to get married. Oh, Grace, I am so happy for you." Her father's deep voice followed soon after, wishing her blessings and promising to help with the wedding preparations. Cousins, aunts, uncles, and friends all called one by one to congratulate her. Everyone was eager to hear every detail about the engagement. Grace smiled and felt warm inside. The love from her family made her even more sure that this was the right choice. As the days passed, plans for the wedding started quickly. Invitations were printed, venues booked, and food menus chosen. But there was one thing Grace could not stop thinking about: her wedding dress. She dreamed of a gown that would be unlike any other, a dress that would make her feel beautiful and special on her big day. One morning, Grace decided to visit the most popular bridal boutique in ABA. She wanted to find the perfect dress herself. The boutique was busy when she arrived. Brides and their mothers filled the shop, trying on gowns and chatting excitedly. Rows of white and cream-colored dresses hung on racks, each one sparkling under the soft lights. Grace walked slowly around the shop, touching the fabric of many dresses. Some were covered with lace, others with beads. Some were short and simple, others long and grand. Still, none of them felt right. Just then, she noticed a heavy curtain at the back of the shop. Curious, Grace moved towards it and gently pulled it aside. Behind the curtain hung a single wedding dress. It was pure white, shining softly like fresh snow under the lights. The dress had long, flowing sleeves with tiny sparkling stones sewn carefully onto the fabric. The skirt was long and smooth, with a tail that seemed to float in the air. Grace's breath caught. Without hesitation, she turned to the shop owner and said, "I want to rent that dress." The owner looked surprised and shook her head slightly. "That one? Not many brides choose that dress anymore." Grace smiled confidently. "I don't want a dress like everyone else. I want this one, please." The shop owner studied her for a moment but finally nodded. "Very well, but please, take good care of it." Grace's eyes shone as she was helped into the dress. It fit her perfectly, as if it had been made just for her. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled again. This dress would make her wedding day truly unforgettable. After paying, Grace carefully carried the dress home, hanging it gently in her room where it would stay safe until the big day. For now, everything was peaceful. Grace's heart was full of hope and dreams about the future, and the dress quietly waited for the day she would wear it. After Grace brought the wedding dress home were filled with joy and laughter. Her house was now a place of excitement, with family and friends coming in and out to help her prepare for the big day. Every corner of the sitting room had something wedding-related. On the center table, a large wedding planner book lay open, filled with colorful sticky notes and handwritten lists. On the floor beside the sofa were baskets of ribbons, flowers, and white beads. The smell of fried puff-puff and chin-chin floated from the kitchen as her mother and aunties made snacks for the guests who visited. Grace's younger sister, Ada, could not stop smiling. She followed Grace around like a shadow, asking questions, giving suggestions, and sometimes teasing her playfully. "Big sis," she giggled one morning as they sorted invitation cards. "How will you behave when Michael holds your hand on the altar? Don't fall down, oh." Grace laughed and gently threw a pillow at her. "Leave me alone, Ada. Focus on your work." As the wedding date drew nearer, her phone stayed busy. The decorator sent photos of flower samples. The event planner asked questions about colors and chairs, and her bridesmaids chatted endlessly on WhatsApp about their dresses and makeup. One afternoon, Grace sat in her room staring at her wedding gown. It hung by the window, protected inside a clear cover. The sunlight poured through the glass and touched the gown, making the little stones on the sleeves sparkle. She smiled to herself and whispered, "You're the one. You're going to make me the happiest bride in ABA." Suddenly her phone rang again. It was her uncle from Umwahia. "My daughter," he boomed. "I just received your invitation. I'm so proud of you. I will be there live and direct. Tell your husband-to-be, he must take good care of you." "Thank you, uncle," she replied, grinning. Another message came in, this time from her secondary school friends group chat. They had seen the engagement photos online and were now arguing about who would sit on the high table. One of them even made a meme of Grace wearing a crown, calling her Queen of Love 2025. Everything felt like a fairy tale. One evening, Grace and Michael went to visit the hotel where the wedding reception would take place. It was one of the biggest hotels in ABA, with shiny tiled floors, high ceilings, and golden chandeliers that looked like stars. The manager led them through the hall and showed them where the cake would stand, where the couple's table would be, and where the music band would play. Grace walked to the center of the hall, closed her eyes, and imagined herself dancing in her dress, surrounded by flowers, music, and the people she loved. Later that night, after Michael dropped her off, she stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. Her skin glowed, her eyes sparkled. She had never felt more beautiful, more ready. Then she turned and looked at the wedding dress. It still stood quietly by the window, glowing gently in the moonlight. There was something almost magical about it. How smooth it was, how perfect it fit, how peaceful it made her feel. She touched the cover gently, whispered, "I'll wear you soon," and turned off the light. She went to bed smiling. Outside, the wind blew softly against the windows. The house was quiet, and the dress waited. Still, nothing strange had happened. Not yet. The house was busier than ever. There were just 2 weeks left before the wedding, and everything had to be perfect. Grace's mother had already hired a caterer from Umwahia. Her aunties were arguing over the type of wrapper to wear on the wedding day, and the family compound was being repainted for the traditional marriage. In the mornings, Grace would wake up early, open her window and take in the fresh ABA air. The neighborhood was alive with Okada horns, bread sellers shouting, and children running off to school. But each morning, the first thing she looked at wasn't the window. It was the wedding dress. It still hung there quietly, just like the day she brought it home. The dress was always clean, always smooth, as though someone had ironed it during the night. The stones on the sleeves always caught the sunlight perfectly, even when the curtain was closed. Her mother had joked once, "Are you sure you didn't buy a magic dress, Grace?" Grace had only laughed. "It's just a beautiful gown, Mama." But that dress, it made people pause. Each time a visitor came to the house, their eyes would go straight to the dress, even before greeting Grace. "Chai, this dress is too fine," one cousin said. "It looks like it was made in heaven." Another guest had walked in and stood still for a moment. "I feel like I've seen this gown before. Somewhere. But I can't remember where." Even Grace's bridal makeup artist, who had come for a trial session, stopped halfway through applying foundation and stared at it. She tilted her head, squinted, and frowned. But then she smiled and said, "Ah, this gown will trend online. People will copy your wedding style." Grace was pleased. Everything was going according to plan. She even posted a photo of the gown on her private Instagram with the caption, "Can't wait to wear this beauty and walk into forever." The post went viral among her friends. Comments flooded in, "Omo, royalty. Where did you rent this one from? I'm getting married next year. Oh. This dress is not ordinary, it's glowing." But something began to bother her sister, Ada. One night, Grace went downstairs to get a drink of water and found Ada standing silently outside the room, staring in through the open door at the gown. "Ada," Grace whispered. "Why are you awake?" Ada turned slowly. I don't know. I just came to look at it again. I don't know. It just feels like it's watching." Grace laughed softly and placed a hand on Ada's shoulder. You've been watching too many Nollywood films. It's just a dress. Ada nodded and smiled weakly, but she didn't go closer. She just turned and went back to bed. The next day was the bridal shower. Grace's friends decorated the hotel suite with balloons, silver streamers, and rose petals. There were small chops on trays, glasses of juice and zobo, and music playing low in the background. They played games, told stories about their school days, and danced around the room in excitement. One of the girls, Linda, asked, "So when are you going to wear the dress for us?" Grace smiled. "Not yet. I want it to be a surprise for everyone on the wedding day." They all nodded in agreement. "You're right. Let the world see you for the first time in it as a bride." That night, Grace returned home tired but happy. She changed into her nightwear and turned off the lights. As she lay in bed, she turned her head toward the corner where the dress stood. Just before she closed her eyes, she smiled and whispered, "Soon." The room was quiet. No wind, no sound. But from where the dress hung, a tiny sparkle flickered, like a heartbeat, unseen, unheard, and waiting. The sun rose gently over the city. The day was calm, bright, and full of promise. Grace's room buzzed with excitement. It was 2 days to the wedding, and today was the final fitting for her gown. Her bridesmaids had arrived early, chattering and laughing as they helped with last-minute preparations. Her mother had brought out a tray of meat pie and Fanta. Even the family dog barked in excitement. "Today we must see you in full glory," her best friend, Amaka, said, clapping her hands. Grace smiled, a little shy. Okay, let me wear it. But no one should take pictures. I want the real thing to shine on Saturday." The room went silent as she carefully opened the cover. The gown slid out slowly, shining in the light like water. Her friends gasped. "Grace, this is not a gown. This is royalty." She held it close, stepped behind the curtain, and began to dress. The satin felt cool on her skin, and the stones on the sleeve pressed gently against her arms. The moment she zipped the back and turned to face the mirror, her breath caught. She didn't look like herself. She looked perfect. She stepped out, and the whole room went still. Even Ada, who had been busy with her phone, froze and stared. "Grace," Ada whispered, "you look different." Everyone clapped and shouted praises. But Grace's smile slowly faded. Something didn't feel right. The dress hugged her perfectly, but too perfectly, like it knew her shape before she even wore it. And as she walked slowly toward the mirror, she felt the fabric press tighter around her waist, like hands. "Are you okay?" Amaka asked. "Yes, I think so," Grace replied softly, "just a little dizzy." She reached out to touch the mirror for balance. As her fingers brushed the glass, the light in the room flickered, just once. Everyone thought it was Nipa, but then came the whisper, soft, very soft, right beside her ear. A voice, a woman's voice, faint, almost like wind. "You said, forever." Grace spun around. "Did someone say something?" she asked, blinking. "No," her cousin replied. "We were just admiring your dress." She looked around. The room was bright again. Everything looked normal. Her friends were smiling, and Ada was holding her phone, recording her. Grace forced a smile. "Must be in my head." Later that evening, she stood alone in her room, the gown laid across her bed. She stared at it, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. She walked closer, gently touched the fabric. And then she noticed it. At the edge of the hem, where the stitches met, there was a tiny mark. A dark thread shaped like a spiral, hidden inside the seam. She had never seen it before. She rubbed her finger over it. Felt cold. Too cold. She sat on her bed, her heart beating just a little faster. She reached for her phone to search for spiral symbols and their meanings, but the screen suddenly went black. Battery full. No heat. No warning. Dead. She looked at the dress again. Then, without thinking, she grabbed it and placed it back inside the protective cover. She hung it on the door and whispered, "I'll wear you on the wedding day, not before." The lights flickered once more. This time, they didn't come back for a full 5 seconds. When they did, the gown was still hanging. But now it seemed to lean, just a little, as though something inside it had shifted. Grace stared at it in silence. She didn't sleep early that night,